All right. Recording. All right, the backup recording is up. And now we're just
Start with the second. So there we go.
all right, whenever you're ready.
I'm going to go ahead and call to order. I'm going to say the December Victorian Village hearing. Our next business meeting is canceled actually just due to the holiday. So that was scheduled for December 25th. And so we are not going to have a business meeting just based upon where it fell because of the holiday. Our next hearing though will still be January 8th, 2025 at 4 p.m. And that's at 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204, which is the room that we're in. I'm going to swear as staff.
Kimberly Bernard Sheehy?
Perfect. Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Kimberly. Introduction of commissioners present. And I'm going to say we have a new commissioner.
Yes.
So would you have the opportunity to just state your name, sir? Thank you.
Pete Schuman,
Melinda Shaw?
Reed Sprite,
Tim Scudder, John Connors. Awesome. I'm going to say, Kimberly, do you want anything in terms of overview of hearing format? Just for some of the audience, just in case, if that's okay?
If I can find my little cheat sheet.
No worries, this is not.
All right, so just as a heads up, the microphones are being really finicky. If I turn mine on, it's gonna give a lot of feedback.
Okay.
If anybody can't hear me, let me know, I'll try to speak up.
All right, thank you.
So an overview of the hearing format, city staff will present the application. The owner or applicant will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials if needed. Registered speakers will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes to speak each. And then commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions if needed.
Thank you so much. Public forum, is there a public forum today?
Not today.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and shift to approval of staff approvals. Is there a motion?
motion to approve staff approvals.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Kimberly, do you want to see if there's any addition?
All right, if commissioners would like to follow along, they start on page 4. With 1221 Highland Street, 93 West Hubbard Avenue, 152 to 154 Wilbur Avenue, 989 Delaware Avenue, 98 Buttles Avenue, 35 Lundy Street, 41 West 2nd Avenue, 301 West 3rd Avenue, 851 Neal Avenue, 44 Buttles Avenue, 125 West 2nd Avenue.
Thank you so much. So we're going to switch to approvals of minutes from last meeting, which was the November 13th meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, minutes from the November meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion at all on the meeting minutes? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting minutes approved. So, Kimberly, I'm just going to turn it over to you for application.
All right, we're gonna start off with application number 1, which is 851 Neal Avenue. Do we have, come right on? Right, so this application is to remove an existing double hung window from the stairwell and install a picture window per the submitted documentation. I've left the comments from the October 9th hearing, which the commissioners had stated they generally don't support the casement window unless documentation of a historic configuration. Commissioners at the October business meeting requested historic photos of the stained glass window if they were available. Windows on this house were replaced in 2006. There is a COA on file to replace all windows in the house, with the exception of the large bay windows, which would require repaired. HPO staff has reviewed the property file and there has been no documentation that there was any stained glass windows. And that's just in our hard copies, as well as the online files. The applicant has not submitted any documentation that the proposed window was previously stained glass. The staff recommends retaining the existing window configuration unless there's additional documentation submitted supporting a fixed window. The commission should discuss if an interior decorative element to emulate stained glass would be appropriate with the existing window configuration. Staff recommends continuation of the application to allow the applicant time to update the application to be more in line with city code and guidelines. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration, as well as the Victorian Village guidelines on windows and doors.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you state your name so I can get sworn in?
Sure, Dominic Bianconi.
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for being here tonight.
Sure.
Is there a possibility to just kind of share with us some of the insight?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the logic behind this application is just, right now, it's a double hung window. We don't utilize it, opening and closing it. We wanted to make an improvement by adding a stained glass window at this location, similar to the ones that our neighbors have, in a Victorian style, of course. And we wanted to try to eliminate basically the bar that runs across the window. Because it's double hung, it has that bar. So our hope was just to remove that bar to have a larger stained glass window installed.
All right, so, thoughts, I don't know, this staff's report is kind of mentioning that tainted or at least just based upon the current conditions and trying to find some historical levels that kind of represents it. So just kind of some feedback, in terms of next direction on some thoughts on what's being proposed.
So the application is just for the casement window as a stained glass as part of the actual application.
Correct.
So are you planning to do some interior application or are you doing a separate?
We've been working with Franklin Art Glass in German Village in the design. I'm not 100% sure whether it would go on the inside or the outside, but we're certainly open to the feedback on if the commission has a preference.
Okay. Not an expert in stained glass, but I guess the one thing I would add, having some historic ones in my house, but it's kind of terrible. They're just double levels, right? Stained glass. I don't know what that includes, but I mean, yeah. Casement would be kind of out of character.
And typically for windows, we don't change what the window configuration is unless we have proof that it was a different configuration. So if it is a double window, it's a stable window, it needs to stay an extra window, unless we have documentation.
I think that's kind of the staff report started.
Yeah.
Tools. Any other thoughts?
No,
Thank you very much.
read on that, same thing, you get the double windows with the stained glass and they can work with it, can look at it next week.
No, I'm sure, again, we just preference.
Makes sense. So everybody's kind of shaking their head. I feel like that's pretty much the consensus now we're going to line the staff report. So it seems like that there's still opportunities to explore. The stained glass with the introduction of the stained glass.
Sure.
Just I think the configuration of a window which just have to be retained. So I think that what they're recommending is maybe continuance of the application that would allow you an opportunity to kind of working with, whomever your vendor, and then coming back with maybe this is how we're going to implement with the retainage of the window.
Okay.
And that is acceptable.
It's, I appreciate the feedback and, we'll do what you guys will let us.
So Kimberly, does that kind of help you from that standpoint?
Yes.
So what we're going to do is a motion to continue the application, allow you to kind of continue to work, and then you'll come back with that and provide us information.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to continue?
Motion to continue COA 2400320851 Neal Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is continued.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, do we have the applicant here for the second application, 994 Harrison Avenue? Okay, this application is to remove vinyl siding from the non-historic garage. It was constructed in 1993 and replace it with LP siding. and remove vinyl siding in the historic addition and replace with the LP siding. The rear addition to the house is historic. The applicant has supplied documentation that the original siding is currently under the vinyl. It appears to be in good condition, even if it's wrapped in plastic. The garage was constructed in 1999. Its vinyl siding is original, as its COA noted, either wood siding or smooth vinyl. HPO staff supports the removal of vinyl siding. Per code and guidelines, HPO recommends retention and restoration of the original wood siding on the addition. Per a recently approved application, staff would also support the retention of the wood siding and recovery with new siding. And recommendation for the application would be to approve with the condition that the original siding on the addition be retained and restored, or the siding is retained and covered properly before being resided on the addition. Staff does support the LP siding on the garage. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11 and standards for alteration, as well as the Victorian Village guidelines on siding.
Thank you, Kimberly. That's what's going to be mentioned. So, all right, can you state your names or get sworn?
Bradley McDougal?
You agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Can I go ahead and turn it over to you to just maybe talk about the two projects? It seems like there's kind of two components. I know that they're linked, the garage and the addition. We're probably going to talk about them a little bit separate, like we'll probably break them, but just kind of give us some framework on the project.
Okay, so,
Yes, sir.
I guess we could start with the garage.
Yes, sir.
The garage has, this is the old wood siding on the garage. I have pictures as well, if you guys would like to see. Press, how does that work?
Are the same pictures that?
No, these are additional ones I have brought.
With additional information, staff needs that submitted beforehand so we can review it.
Okay. It's okay.
Oh.
I think we have some information, and so just go ahead and just talk it through and understand. We appreciate you bringing that additional information just to clear us.
So this is the siding that's on my garage. This is older wood siding, and I just wanted to update it to the LP wood siding. I brought an example of that as well. It's going to be this color. It matches the brick on the house that's originally there. So I would just be, this is the wood that like frames the siding into it, the thicker block wood. So this is the new material I would want to go with. And this is the vinyl siding that's on the house. It's old, chipped, dusty. This is already broken off. So I just picked this up off the ground. And I would be replacing that with the LP wood so it matches the garage and the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Gotcha. Anything else that we should just be aware of? I think you're just kind of thinking about it. I think staff is kind of thinking about, typically there's currently a siding for the garage, just no issues, because I think there's a little bit of similarity in terms of that. I think it's really just talking about maybe the back addition. And then with the understanding of the historic siding that's there, is there a possibility of being able to restore it instead of being able to kind of cover it with another material?
Once this vinyl siding gets cracked, or it's like a cheaper plastic material. Once this gets cracked or dirty, I mean, you could spray it or paint it, but once this get cracked or starts chipping and falling off, I don't think there's any more restoring of it. And then it just starts to, make the property look bad or.
Would you care to touch on the current status of, I'm going to say, the wood siding on the addition that is underneath the vinyl siding? I think that's the material that is being recommended by staff to explore, I'm going to say, restoring, not the fighting.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Definitely,
So you're speaking of this wood under here. Is that resalvageable? Well, I was only able to look at that small area, but I don't know how long that's been there. That's then that's also I feel like that's a property owner's preference. Is that something they really want to look at, every day? That's kind of, to me, if I'm the property owner, which I am, I feel like that's putting lipstick on a pig, and it's just covering up cracks or things that don't really look good. You could paint it or try to restore it, but after 2 winters, it's going to be back. I'm going to be right back here.
That's fair. Okay, anything else before we just kind of take some comments and just from the commission and just kind of hear the thoughts and just try to open conversation? I'm sure we'll have a little bit of back and forth to get there. So, number one, maybe that's the easy one. Is can we just touch on the garage? Because, any thoughts just maybe on the garage? This is a little easier.
So you said the garage is wood.
Yeah, this would.
You would say looks like it's covered in vinyl?
No, this is actual siding of the house. Yeah, it's wood. I mean, from a distance, it looks like vinyl once you get up there.
Seems like.
Yeah, but no, it's wood. It's older wood, but. Yeah, and then as you can see down at the bottom of the garage, it's already ripped and chunked off there. That's where I got this piece from because it's already it's coming up in a lot of places.
Just comments, guys. I mean,
Yeah. I guess my only question with the LV siding, the picture of the different samples that had a rough wood finish, typically if we are recommending a wood substitute, it needs to be smooth finish.
It is, that's what I will go with. That's just what they had at the store at the moment.
Make sure it's clarified.
No, it'll be smooth throughout the house and garage.
So no consideration for staff's kind of recommendation. They probably say reveal, we'll probably just kind of specify that motion, a smaller 4-inch or 5-inch exposure, something of that nature. I think that's kind of how it's outlined. So that was pretty easy and smooth. Can we go ahead and shift a little bit to maybe just the addition? And I know from a owner's perspective, and just kind of the staff, I mean, this was something that we deal with a lot, we try to understand, and I can understand what the gentleman's kind of working through. But this is something that we address as all the time, so is there just kind of some feedback, because some might be a little, trying to get to maybe the resolution on the house edition?
Can you believe what year is that saying when we come from the? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Not off the top of my head. I typically put the dates on them, and if I don't, the latest one it would be the 1921 to 1951.
Have the windows on the addition ever faced? They were the original windows for that.
Actually, I'm not too sure on that. They're in great condition though, I can tell you that, but I'm not. No.
We do have the COA on file for covering that addition with vinyl. I want to say it's like a 1980s COA, so it did specifically say retain the original wood to put the vinyl over it.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, this is, my work. We do see this a lot, right? And it always comes back to if we can restore it, we want to see it restored. I mean, that siding is one of the few, well, it's not a few, it's one of the defining features of the neighborhood, that particular siding we get out of wood buildings. And it's pain to try to restore and maintain, but it is something we treasure. So that's why I would be in support of trying to restore that.
It makes sense. Is it typical steps, just kind of thinking around right now, it's like what we would probably do is I'm not kind of talking out loud, you gotta make sure it's a price off the process, right? So if staff's recommendation, with handling an issue like this is that we would schedule an opportunity for staff to come out and be able to evaluate, say, a larger sampling for a few areas to kind of understand, I'm gonna say, the status of the existing material and to see if there's opportunities for the existing material to be, I would say, restored. And then you would go down a path of restoration. If you started to take off a couple of areas and you felt as though that there was a hardship related to restoring it, then you would be able to work with staff, and then that may have to come back as a varied application and a discussion at that. Is that a way of being able to kind of communicate those steps. It really,
Yeah, and I do want to add that when we're talking about doing the exploratory areas, typically staff advises something in the back or rear, which this addition is, and something that can either be covered back up or tarped in case we get weather. Because what we don't want is you taking siding off and then saying it raining or snowing and then deteriorating or causing leakage on the interior of your house.
so I guess that's why I started the conversation in two different paths. See, like the garage, I think that was a pretty good path. I know you're probably lining up contractors and trying to get work done at the same time. And that's understandable. But the rear addition is just maybe a little bit different path. Because it's an easier path if you were just going to recover it with the same material like for like, or, in that perspective. But since there's a potential of altering the historic character, the hope is that there's an opportunity and a need for evaluation of the existing wood to see if that can be restored. So there's this moment, like a little pause, to be able to get that confirmation from staff and you to work that out. And then be able to chart the path of being able to say, okay, oh, this is something that we definitely need to cover because it's too far gone. Or we need to continue down the path of restoring that existing material.
If you don't mind me asking,
Yes, sir.
who determines that?
Understandable.
Like, if I look at it, I'm like, and it's restored, and I look at it, I'm like, and if the commission's like, oh, I like it, so deal with it. Like, who's?
Understandable. And I don't think it's necessarily a like or dislike. It's definitely, there's a balance of being able to try to understand, I'm going to say, if the condition of the material. So how do we determine the condition of the material? We've had some projects where there is an ability of being able to restore it because once a couple of test patches were removed, you can see that the material is in good conditions, it's not decayed. There is an ability to restore it. And then in some cases, it's way too far gone. Again, the material is, they've covered it with insulation and such because of significant holes, or the material is very good. And then those have charted a path towards replacement. So there is, both options, but it's not necessarily a determination of like or dislike. It's more of, I'm going to say, the true condition of the material that needs to be evaluated. And that will be yourself and that will be staff.
Okay, I guess my last question would be,
Yes, sir.
is there a possibility to keep the wood and go over top as they did with the vinyl?
So, staff just mentioned report based on past retaining, covering. That case is that it's acceptable and steps.
Well, based on the last siding application we saw, that was the ultimate thing that you approved. If you'd still like me to follow what the protocol has been of doing a site visit and then deciding based on that, I'm okay doing that route. Just because that's what we did with the previous one, but with the previous one, there were 2 site visits. So I am hoping we don't have to do 2 separate site visits with this one.
So just to clarify, just make sure we're right. So we're thinking that based upon what staff report saying that there is the option of being able to replace the vinyl siding with the ultimate product, right? As part of the evaluation.
Yes.
So
Still need evaluation.
still need the evaluation. Okay. So that opens the door as another opportunity to what you mentioned. So we still need that evaluation process to happen where you have an on-site meeting with the staff. But based upon that determination, there may be an option just to be able to reclad it with the ultimate vinyl siding product based upon what was already approved. Or you would go down the restoration route. Yeah. Or you could go down the LP route if it was determined that that product or the wood siding couldn't be restored, right? So there's 3 options here, but they all start with that evaluation process.
And when would that take place?
That would be something that you would schedule with staff.
Yeah, and I know the holidays are coming up, so I need to look at my schedule before I toss out any dates. I am hoping, without looking at anything, that next week might be a possibility. Because if not, then we get into the Christmas and the week of New Year's and folks being out of town or taking days off.
Mhm.
So tentatively next week, but I need to confirm what my schedule is and when I've got open spots. Because typically what happens with the site visit, I come out and then another coworker does as well. That way it's two of us that are looking at it and evaluating it.
I know it's a lot of schedule right around downtown, so the good thing is that there's some options here, and it seems like you could get, based upon those three options, I think you could get to a moment where, you know, you feel good about the end.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's just the steps, and I think that's just, as being a homeowner in a neighborhood, we all are challenged with those steps. So today, we could, to help, and this is up to you, we could take and break the two portions apart. We could do A, we can go ahead and proceed with, we want to say a vote on the garage.
Okay.
Or we could, you know, and then B, we would continue the addition.
Or
So
the,
that way you can set up the staff, you know, visit. Or we could just.
No, I'm fine with
The
that.
whole application, would that help you?
yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Is there a motion for, item A, which is approval of the garage with those clarifications of the siding date? And, you know, install parameters and in terms of exposure, you know, that, to help, I might. Nobody wants to.
So motion for COA 2400-450, 994 Harrison Avenue. This is item A, which is focused on the garage. So that is approved as submitted with the clarification that it is the smooth finish to the LP siding, and that the overlap of the siding is matching the reveal. The reveal is what?
The same existing?
Yeah, that is, the reveal is similar to the existing condition. So,
I'm with you. The existing condition is in the color matching.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the existing boards are 4 inches tall, you're not going to like an 8-inch tall siding, so you're matching the same texture as what the siding, or same pattern siding is.
Yeah, so right there.
So you're sticking with like a narrow board siding instead of going one that's twice as tall.
So in your siding overlap would be that 4 or 5 inches there versus sometimes individuals will do 7, 8,
But-
10.
could I ask, why would I not be allowed to do that if the other houses in the neighborhood has that? Like every house?
Understandable. So I think some of the newer homes in the neighborhood have a little bit different parameters. But the goal is to still allow that 4 to 5 inch exposure that would have a better, I'm going to say, match to the current existing condition on pretty much any of the projects that have come through that are requesting COA. But some of the newer homes may have a little bit different variation because they're new builds, and those kind of get evaluated maybe a little bit differently, or they get evaluated from a standpoint of just that project in context with the greater home. But the goal is to try to see if we can retain and match the existing conditions as much as possible.
Or they have done work without approval.
That's unfortunate, the unfortunate thing. We appreciate the fact that you did this right. We all are under these same constraints, and hopefully our property values, things like that, kind of are retained as part of it. So we appreciate you coming to that, coming to it in this regard. Is that, so clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, a bit, but is there a process to speak about that? Because if you look at it from an investor standpoint, a homeowner standpoint, there's much more value in the 8 inch. And it's not really changing the historical, like there's nothing historical about a garage or a back of a vinyl house. It's just a preference at that point. That's me personally speaking.
And that's why I know that there's just this balance, and we completely agree. And I think it's just that balance of unfortunately trying to uphold what the guidelines and the code is asking us to do, and trying to remove our sense of preference or maybe the value in varying from that.
Mhm.
And I think the guidelines were asking us to uphold, maintain the character that's existing. And so what we're trying to do is, if there's a replacement of a material, we have to go back and evaluate it against the existing conditions to align with what the code is asking us to do.
Understood.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. So
Although-
say, let's say for no.
I was gonna say, if you'd like to explore further options with the siding, the commission could always continue the siding to the garage as well. So if you want to submit additional documentation of, hey, my neighbors at 1235 have done this, like, you can submit that. I will look into it. Just note that if you do end up submitting addresses or photos and I find out somebody did do work without approval, I do have to hand that off to a code officer. So not everybody likes doing that, just in case somebody has not done things properly, it kind of outs them. But it is an option if you do want to give options, and I can look at it and say, hey, yes, they did this for this reason, it was a new build. Or the commission provided additional documentation and motion of why they did it or something, which does happen on occasion.
Makes sense.
I think you want to know, the conversation's gonna happen in the beginning of the week. We're in the house, right? You're gonna want.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. We might as well get to it. And I don't want to waste anybody's time or go back and forth for, I mean, because also I do live in the neighborhood besides this. I live on 588 West Second. And that was a new build, but next to me, I've developed a relationship with the Roby family and they do a lot of work in the neighborhood and they were the ones that kind of showed me how renovations were going in that neighborhood and they bought old houses and updated them and so forth and so on. So
Yes, sir.
I just trying to figure out how they went about doing that.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. So if that's the case, do you feel like, so what's today's option? Because we definitely don't want to put you in a bad spot, right? So do you want us to continue to proceed with the motion for item A for the garage with the understanding that right now, today, without other contextual information, we're going to say the install should mirror to, the smaller exposure? Or do you want to continue the whole application that would allow them to go back and maybe take some of the documentation and state a case of why you feel like, you want to install the siding on the garage in a different manner, because we're going to have to talk about that on the home as well.
Yeah,
Is
then,
that is that beneficial, just so you continue the whole case?
yeah.
Okay.
Because in this, when I submitted the application, I did put 8-inch LP, so I'm not going,
Okay,
I wouldn't replace it with the same, that's not even,
I understand. So coming back, just to try to help your case, I think what Kimberly is outlining is just if there's documentation of photos in the area or whatever that kind of helps say that.
oh, I have some.
That's understandable. And I know, I think it'd be good to be in your application so that we can see it ahead of time. It's just, I think there's a moment where she gets to log it in and share it. Understandable, but that information will be critical in your next application. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, so, I'll just go ahead and retract.
Retraction of the previous,
Motion.
motion. Yes, thank you. And a new motion
Yes.
to continue COA 2400-450 and 4 Harrison.
Is there a second? Okay. Is that everything good now? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's continued. So, thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to number 3, do we have the applicant for 326 Tapan Street? All right, this application is to repair the garage, matching wood elements like replace the roof structure, roofing, siding, trim, replacing window and doors. The staff report and the agenda do say the shingles are to be the GAF Timberline HD shingle, but they have, I believe you've amended the application, but you can clarify.
Yeah.
And then add a leaf to form the French doors to the yard and add shutter door I would paint all trim and siding. Anything painted red would be stained with the charcoal outdoor wood stain, which is the SW 3063, including fence and wood decking. Everything currently painted blue, which is predominantly the trim, would be painted the laborazite. And then repaint everything cream, the worldly gray, and add an accent color of the rookwood amber under the eaves. The historic garage was demolished and rebuilt roughly 1994, 1995 to the existing configuration. COA numbers are 94-10-11A and 94-10-11B. HBO staff supports the proposed modifications that will restore but slightly alter the openings. Staff does not support the shingle type because they're a shingle, but the applicant has, I believe, changed those. The commission should discuss the hidden shutters and lights on the south elevation. Lights are typically added over garage doors or person doors, but it's not typical to see them on the side of a building with a window. If the hidden shutters are operational, there would be a conflict with the proposed lights that they wouldn't open all the way. Staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions that the shingles and windows are selected from the approved list. The gutters and downspouts are added to the drawing, lights on the south elevation are removed, and lights are added by the garage doors. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you guys state your names this morning?
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Hugo Vidal.
Jared Bach.
Could you read it?
Yes.
Thank you, Jonathan. Go ahead and you heard staff report, so if there's certain things that you want to clarify, try to help us, and then we'll kind of take commission. Yes.
Well, I mean, for the most part, this is happening because the fire.
Yes.
So they're gonna change the main paint color. And then the door between the house and the garage is gonna become a double door. The only thing, the roofing, we're switching to one of the approved list roofing,
That's all.
instead of the one that they chose. As far as the lights on I guess the south side of the garage, that could be flexible. I mean, this is just what the owner was asking for. As far as, it's just really just rebuilding what's there and changing the paint colors.
You speak just a little bit about the shutter.
So the owner, they have they have the whole property on this other side. So that's kind of an outdoor recreational area.
Yeah.
So they want to be able to open up the garage kind of to it. And that's the reason for that application. They want to kind of keep the siding the same. It's just put hinges on it and kind of keep it as like kind of a hidden doors. So it doesn't change a whole lot of what it looks like when they're closed. So
Anything further?
not much else.
And I think those were helpful. I think those were points that staff was asking, so we just let's probably have a little bit better understanding. Okay, team. So shingles, I think that's pretty clear, right? Because that's already taken care of. Stain and all that, the color and such. I think that's pretty clear. I think that maybe just lights, and if I don't see anything related to the shutter, but that is we'll open for discussion as well. I think staff's recommendation is just the lights that are on the side, just because of the nature of them being a little bit different and unique to traditionally what we would see in terms of the location of lighting. Typically that addresses the main door or the garage doors. That's probably why it was flagged.
Yeah, I would recommend eliminating those as well, because if you're trying to put those shutters on and make them visible, the lights are gonna draw attention. Plus, you won't be able to open them completely because they won't get the lights.
Yeah.
Especially those lights stick out, but these just, so all of a sudden, you're not gonna be able to secure it.
If we do the hinges inside and they open towards the inside of the garage instead of outside, would that be okay?
You're not gonna be able to get them in as well then. Because of the nature of how it is. Because they won't be able to be flat from the outside.
And still, it's,
Any other kind of thoughts to this? So given the lights, staff recommending addressing the lights on the back doors, removing the lights on the side. Those are just the two recommendations. I'm gonna be the gutters, adding those to the drawings and that stuff. I think that's pretty clear. Shouldn't be concerned with that. Anything else that we're missing?
That's what's also, the wood part of the house is also getting repainted, so it's all.
Yes.
Yes.
How is that working in the main body paint?
It's brick. The main house is.
No, not the part of the house that is painted red siding. If you're switching to a stain, how is that gonna work over something that's?
I guess it's just the wrong word. It should be paint. Shouldn't be.
It should be
stain.
paint. Yeah, I don't know why. The owner was one that kind of typed that up and she put it as a stain, but I believe it's a paint.
So we can amend the motion in terms of how that material is going to be finished. The paint. Okay. Now it's clarified.
Existing garage.
Not currently.
And they would like to put gutters on.
Yes.
So
It's half round gutters.
So half round gutters, so we would end up having a half round gutter. Downspouts.
So lighting up above the garage door. Did you mention that specific thing?
It's in the staff report, but I think that that's something that we would need to work through. And so right now, since this is a single door, it's coach lights that would address the garage door, would that be on both sides? You know, I mean, just, but that's what's missing from the application is just the lighting for the garage door.
Oh, I understand from the outside.
That's,
Okay.
Stacks or coach lights.
The owner didn't mention anything specific for that section of the house. But if they would like to use the ones that they're proposing in the
The
permit.
other portions of it.
Yeah, the drawing, the electrical drawing for the garage shows one light on one side of the garage door, but the elevations don't show it next to the main garage.
I get you.
so in this case, we would have two coaches, so if such an saying, we'll take a two.
One on either side, is what the intention is.
Gotcha. Right. Seems like we've hit the items, right? So with the clarification of stain versus paint. We got the half round gutters to match the existing home. We're gonna be added and downspouts. And then we're gonna remove the coach lights that are shown on the drawings from the maybe east side, so south side. And then those are gonna be relocated to the garage elevation. West elevation from where we got. And then the shingles will be on the list. Is that? Yeah.
I think that covers it.
And before you go to the motion, is all of what they said okay?
Yes.
Yeah, do you see the owner possibly having any hesitation about anything? Do you want to possibly leave anything open for, them to choose an A or B?
No, I think they'll be okay. Yeah, no problem.
Apologies, thank you.
No, I'm trying to cover all of our bases because what everybody said was good, but.
I was thinking one of the homeowners said, I just, yeah. Okay, so everything's good.
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion that captures those? Thank you.
Motion on application COA 2400484 to approve the application as submitted with the following conditions. The garage is to be painted rather than stained to match the home, you know, whatever paint colors that to be chosen here in the application. The shingle part for the garage, from the improved shingles lift. Gutters and downspouts are to be added to the drawings, and those should be half-round gutters to match the main house. The coach lights shown on the south elevation of the garage should be relocated to the west elevation facing the alley to be on either side of the garage door. I think I got it. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, do we have the applicant here for application number 4, 56 West Star Avenue?
Yep.
Okay, this application is to remove and replace the rear staircase, paint to match the existing stairs shiitake, to match the house. This application is the result of a code violation for work completed without approval. HBO staff has added a photo of what the previous stairs and landing configuration were. Staff recommends continuing the application to allow an update to the design to better follow code and guidelines. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, standards for alteration. And for the record, I do want to note Commissioner Sprite is recused from this application.
Thank you so much. Can you say your name, get you sworn in, sir?
Yes, Logan Fitch.
Do you tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, thank you.
Sir. All right, so turn it over.
Yes, little introduction on our stair. So that's a rear stair that leads directly into a dwelling space. That's the only point of ingress egress for that unit. So the original stair was critically deteriorated. Our architect mentioned it. It was racking back and forth. The treads and risers weren't to code. The ledger boards structurally holding up that deck were coming apart. It all actually came from a tenant complaint. Then we came out and realized that it was no longer safe to enter and exit via that stair. The intent was always to put it back as it was, but then with the rise and run, to be able to get up to that landing, that stair in one straight shot would have been into our garage and parking area. So that's why our design professional suggested the landing. That's hence the reason it looks a little different. Well, I mean, a lot, I guess it turns. And then in terms of the construction, the original stair, you can see in some of the photos, it wasn't even a true stringer. It was two 2x8 or 2x10s with ledgers and treads on top. So in lieu of that, our design professional, we went to the triple true stringer as code would merit, and tried to mirror that original back stair as much as possible with the spindles, the trim details on the handrail. Let's call it that lower band board as well. Yeah. So I'd like to hear some opinions. It was kind of we had to do it quick for the tenant, tried to get it to match exactly. But yeah, I guess we're here now. So I'd like to hear some opinions and.
Thank you, sir. Just obviously, any thoughts?
But one thing, sorry, I wanted to add, we would have painted it immediately to match, but it's treated lumber. So it needs at least a year to cure or that paint won't hold. So the intent was always to paint it. Just wanted to.
Very nice.
Yep.
Very nice. Okay. Any thoughts?
I'd say when be beneficial to understanding truly where the existing stair is located and how much further if there would be where the stair is related. Can't quite tell on the photo that's at the top middle of the screen, but it would be nice to be able to see where the parking is in relation to. This is the garage, so that's where it's parking is the garage, right?
Correct.
Makes sense, good. And how close to the first stair was to the garage versus there now?
Let's see, the existing versus proposed. Sure.
It's kind of the backup to the justification.
Is there an issue with the new design out of curiosity in terms of commission standards? Out of curiosity, just for my notes for the ownership.
It will.
Okay, perfect. I'll jot that note down. Okay, sorry.
No, you're okay. It's okay. Just, but I think.
We're gonna default to replacing in kind. That justification, understanding, documenting why it can't. You know, that if replacing in kind is not code. Or requirements, that some justification to that to trigger the alternative.
Gotcha.
And then just discuss this, is the alternative the appropriate? Alternative. Awesome.
Any other kind of thoughts? Just maybe, I think some site plan perspective and the configuration and the layout.
Be in conflict with the vibe of the landing. So it would just be good to see the fixed dimension, true dimensions of what things are.
Okay.
And we're,
Sure.
Anything else, kind of, maybe if we switch to maybe now aesthetics or anything like that at all, just to, maybe help advocate from the standpoint of the current. If we find, when we evaluate that information, we find that we need to evaluate the merits of this, what else are we missing?
And I guess the piece that stands out to me most is the intermediate railing posts. So kind of really at the kind of the main posts that they're a little clunky how they interface with the stair.
you mean how they kind of overlap this stuff?
Yeah.
And
There's a solution to that or solution, but that
Are we talking about the landing post, just to make sure I'm following?
it's really the main post to the handrail that happens at top or bottom and also middle. Particularly where it's at elevation, it's just signs, feels a bit out of place compared to kind of the rest of the elevation.
The application doesn't have any siding scope, is that right? And it's currently submitted, so it looks like at the back of the building, there's missing trim pieces, siding, sort of the most of the building, we sent the pictures. So I don't know if there's a downstream impact on the rest of the work getting completed, but.
Just unpainted. So I think the part of the COA was to paint match that like for like wood siding.
With some additional photos of, say, like the top where you enter that second floor and beneath, how?
Well, it just looks like there's more trim
Yeah, it's time to try those.
over. Yeah, I mean,
It's like there's gaps at the corners.
and then the second floor is that
yeah, the far right is the
painted siding. Like when you get at the second floor level, or is it? It's not sheathing, right?
But are you talking about on the, yeah, right around the door?
Right.
Yeah.
If that's just existing wood siding that hasn't been touched, it looks like it's.
Yeah, you got it.
Where are we circling by the,
By the window.
By the window there, right around the window of the door. Yeah. That whole face of that.
just maybe some more photos? Well, that is going to be painted. That's part of,
Oh,
to match, that was that color that was indicated.
But, stuff on the side, that's like it was there before. Is this new siding beyond painted siding that new construction?
So when we were going up there, it was completely deteriorated from rot. So yes, so it was like for like wood siding to be painted to match.
That's fine to include, just.
It,
Not part of the application.
it would need to be included in the application,
Was-
but I don't know if the code violation cited it. I think it was clearly the stairs.
Gotcha.
I mean, they're clearly a much larger component, so if the code
Right.
officer didn't notice, well, it's at the top there.
And I think we're just trying to amend your application to get you all.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Right now, the application really is only addressed to the stairs, so that will be helpful to kind
Yep.
of amend.
Similar questions about that one.
Well, keep in mind the older picture is from like 1989, so a new window could have been placed in there between now and then. I can double check the file to make sure like what changes have occurred since then to now.
This is more code, so you know, but checking your handrail restability and details for that being really safe and be strong, it doesn't appear that it will be in height to the height of our above ground.
The handrail on the stair or, okay. I can check. So our architect did draft those, but we could confirm that on the amended.
Anything else, team? Because it seems like what we're trying to help the application is just being able to continue it with an understanding of some of these specifications. Because that way, when the applicant comes back, has everything comprehensively covered.
Yeah, and be able to make, yeah, yes.
So it's, I think we talked about verification of the unpainted wood on the site, evaluation of some existing photos. Alongside of the window that's right adjacent to the door. Getting a clarification of that, including that in the application. Being able to just further evaluate the current railing conditions to make sure it's compliant from a handrail perspective. Extending it to a site plan condition to really evaluate the prior stair and its extent related to the constraint that was mentioned alongside of the new configuration.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
Any other site plan, because right now it looks like it comes down to concrete pad, that's.
It didn't really connect to anything before either. And prior the stair, the footers were minimal, if even there. Obviously we had to put, footings under the post and a spread footing under that landing. I mean, obviously light landscaping, I guess, could alter that if required. I don't know if it is.
No, it makes sense, but I think to, to Melinda's point, it's just, if there's other work that is forecasted, it would be great to get that out.
Gotcha. No, there is not. It was just to kind of get that stair back in kind to new build to code.
Is there any plans of like reseeding the grass?
I could get with you, I'd imagine.
Okay.
I can't imagine that helps the rentability with that
Yeah.
dirt, so yeah.
If that's part of the application, like part of the work, let's add that in, make
Okay.
sure we've got that, at least, on approval.
Yep.
So it's on the record that that's what's gonna happen.
Perfect.
Provided cover.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else, team, that we may be missing? You feel like you have everything that you need in terms?
Yeah, and just, I guess, to reiterate, coming back, we'll get more photos, more detail, existing measurements. Assuming everything checks out, just so we can come back for action in the next meeting. Is there anything design aesthetic that needs to be altered? Again, we tried to match it as much as we could to new building standards. I just don't want to, come back after a month and something new be brought up to push it. I don't, just bring that out to the staff
Great question.
or commissioners rather.
Great question.
It was never the prettiest stair to begin with.
Right. That just thought, I think if it would have came before us, then I think we would be looking at the minutes, so trying to make sure it's not, it doesn't appear as a deck, right? From that perspective. So is there any design feedback related to?
Yeah, I guess it's just like, Kimberly, is it old enough to be considered, was the last one old enough to be considered historic, so therefore we should be matching that one?
Although the only caveat is, the coding guidelines, or not the code, well, yeah, but like, if it needs to be up to code for like entry, we would like safety to take precedent.
Right.
I will double check, because this might be the oldest photo we have, and that would date it at 1989. Is quite historic, yeah.
The previous one was very, like, aesthetic, and this one matches that. Which if someone was to come before us, was a new stair that had never been there in this location, that is not the aesthetic that.
We look for something more delicate, less.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, makes sense. So we should kind of remember that when we apply that motion. Just given what was there versus what's being proposed, just to keep us out of that, yeah.
What, I suppose from that standpoint, if we do, code evaluation to figure out that it's 42. Real, because right now 36 is student vote, it's railing and it's a guard.
Yep.
And if we determine that the guard has to be higher, now it's gonna change that detail. I think if we figure that out, I would maybe come prepared with what that might look like. So, and that might be the opportunity to try to think about those intermediate posts, try to get a little less.
Okay,
You feel, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I do think it would help too if there was sidewalk. I think it's there to some other on the site. So since this is an entrance, right, or anything else. By the unusual sign of stair parking to immediately.
So, and justify them, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess that could maybe be a potential, not, I guess, concession, but a give and take, like with the new design, some more connectivity.
It's all would justify the L shape.
But, okay,
Those two. So
that's something I can go back to ownership.
I think that would be illustrated on that, maybe that site plan, it should, just how those two kind of connect.
Right.
Okay. Great. Anything else, do we think we need? You feel pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
Is there a motion to continue?
Somebody else besides. Commissioner Scares doing this easy one.
Continue, COA 2400402 for 56 West Star Avenue.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to application number 5, which is 193 West 4th Avenue. This application is to construct a new 20-foot by 20-foot garage, install 2 snap lights over the garage, install a single garage door and 6-panel person door, a new concrete apron to align with the edge of the garage, asphalt shingles on the roof with K-style gutters, and the garage should have smooth hardy board siding painted to match the adjacent house. There is not currently a garage at this address. Typically, staff encourages new garages to have 2 individual garage doors if the alley and lot width allow. Shingles need to be specified prior to issuance of a certificate from the approved shingles list. The commission should discuss if the proposed garage and person doors are appropriate. Staff typically steers applicants away from visible exterior hardware. The applicant should confirm if any variances are needed. Variances, of course, can be approved separately as a different application, but we do typically like to know if they are going to be needed. Staff recommends approval of the application with any and all clarifications submitted to HPO staff prior to issuance of a certificate. Basis for recommendation is City Code 3116.12 with standards for new construction and the Victorian Village guidelines regarding windows and doors.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you state your name, get you sworn in?
Yes, Mike Navarro.
You tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Awesome.
All right, so it seems like there's just a couple items that kind of staff just got picked up on. I think the door, really the garage door, the double, the main garage door, it's a single versus double. Traditionally, we would see 2 singles. And then just a little bit about maybe the accessory, the hardware, it's a garage door itself. Any thoughts?
Yes, so as far as, I have a list here, so the shingles was submitted after through the portal. So pretty much going through, historic preservation guidelines, which has already been picked up. I believe it's state gray, which is in the application. I am asking for the variance for height. The owner's nephew wants to have storage for his uncle. So asking for height variance, I guess height variance is at 15. we're asking for 15.9. Which is 3332.38G. As far as the hardware, this kind of goes with the one door preference. The homeowner is 80 years old. He wants to make sure he has enough width as possible, going in and out. So he felt comfortable with that. The other thing, the location of the garage too, it's right next to another garage that is a one door garage. So it will be like for like next door, which is I believe it's a newer garage door that was built 20 years ago. And when I say location, there's a 12 unit in back of it, and then I think a 200 and some parking space just kind of adjacent to that. But kind of going with the aesthetics that's already in place on that alleyway with the existing garage next door, and just safety, more safety for the owner. Hardware. I typically go with additional hardware to mimic a two-car garage door. We've done it in Durham Village and in Italian Village. They're like, hey, can we just have that preference versus not having the hardware? I'm not. It's up to you guys to say, hey, it's yay or nay, but that's just another avenue that we can place hardware to mimic that two door garage effect. Awesome.
Very So, Kimberly, so I didn't realize that there was recommendation on the variances.
So there were no variances submitted as part,
I didn't
yeah.
say, that was one thing that I picked up on too as well,
Yeah.
so.
So
Go ahead.
because the variances will need to be submitted separately, and if you did submit some additional documentation that I didn't see, we didn't have no email notifications set up until this week for when documents were uploaded.
Oh, okay.
It's an unfortunate side effect of the hack of the city that some of our requests for updates to the portal weren't processed as fast because they were more focused on making sure things were secure and back up and running. And as the commission can tell you, not everything is back up and running because they're still waiting on box. So if you did submit additional information and didn't email me, I unfortunately didn't see it.
Well, the one thing when you did email me, it's like, hey, you check your junk email. I checked it and I emailed you. I say, hey, and you're like, hey, just drop it in the thing by 12 noon or noon, which I did. So I can resubmit that variance portion. So I did. Yeah.
And that was just one thing that just jumped out.
Yeah. No, thank you.
So any thoughts on the garage? So I think the garage door, we'll deal with the variance later.
I think the single door in this case makes sense because if you're to break it into two separate doors, the garage would need to be wider, then you need to go variance because it's too close to the lot lines.
Any other thoughts?
I had a similar thought, fairly small garage. Or one to one.
Or right in the middle.
Yes, he can.
Accessories, so all of that makes sense in terms of the position you're making. That's probably is a benefit. From a standpoint, there's would that be a benefit? Just trying to get these out.
What kind of gutters are on that house? Because these are showing OG gutters. Which we don't really.
I don't know what's on the house, but these are just standard K gutters.
Couple under details, the main door, actually before it shows a 6-pane door, which would not, the elevation shows a 4-panel door that is much closer. So make sure it was leaving up, it should be a 4-panel.
Okay. Yep.
The other piece, I guess I would ask. who we have an expert in that. The return on the soffit, that's not, I don't see that here.
Well,
I mean, I see it a lot, just I don't see it in the neighborhood. And I don't.
the other ones, I don't know if I've seen it in any programs. It's a nice detail.
Yeah, well, at least.
It's not for that time.
It is, okay.
Yeah, I think it's really sensitive in terms of,
Yeah.
let's say, articulate homes for ourselves now.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good, it's even here, that's what I was thinking, yeah. So it talked to, we all, it's always got roots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we need.
Okay. Makes sense. And do we know offhand the distance in terms of maneuverability on the alley, in terms of one door versus two door?
I do not. I believe that's more of, I want to say like, that might be more zoning code, which I'm not as familiar with. But, the commission has listed some reasons why they're okay with the single door.
I think so, wait, just.
I think it would justify the range as well, because we need really, I think, right now, this is a smaller alley. If it's make sense. Okay, okay. All right. Okay. And then, so we can, I think, move the application forward, but then you have to come back for the variance. Right?
Why is that?
Because the variance right now is, are you thinking that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, how would you want to handle the variance? Because right now, there's a variance.
Yeah, so with the variance, we need, so we've seen the variances after,
Okay.
after designs have been approved. But the variance language has to be very specific for building and zoning. So when we have variance requests, what our office does is we ask for what do you call it? We ask for a Word document of what that code language is, and we copy it directly from that Word document to the agenda and then to the staff report. That way we're not messing up what that very specific language needs to be. And if it wasn't in the original application and I did miss it, which is probable with the way the past couple of weeks have been, the commission could always elect to let staff represent it instead of the applicant, if it's just that single variance. And that's if you didn't want to come. I would say it might be able to move to staff approval, but we will not have a business meeting for January because that falls on Christmas. And with how the holiday is, rescheduling with everybody's schedule, probably not going to happen.
I'm fine with that, as long as it's a very, simple variance for, 8 to 9 more inches of height. I don't think it's a big deal. If she wants to represent me, say, hey, we have it, here's the verbiage, we'll put it in. I'm totally fine with that.
So from a timing perspective, if we were to elect to that, we're going at amending and evaluating rest of the variance. Is that something that we can just put it to the motion and that's okay?
I don't think so,
Okay.
just because I would have to check with the historic preservation officer, just because the commission offers recommendations on them. And the building and zoning department or city council ultimately has approval on it.
Right.
So it's the delicate kind of nature of like, I can't just staff approve them. It typically has to go through the formal process of the commission is the one viewing it and offering the recommendation. And if you move it to staff approval during the business meeting, the quorum has viewed it and has decided that can be moved. And I wouldn't say.
There's a,
Okay.
So.
We approve it.
Really good question, like, not.
We're here now. You say that, yeah, I'm just delegating.
You can motion it and I can double check.
say no, then worst comes to worst, it still comes to us next month.
Yeah.
This is true. I will say with any subcommittee review, sometimes, the general hearing is a little quicker. We all know it's
You got
true.
better.
And if that wording is already in the, document, I will forward that, to the commission probably tomorrow. And then that'll start your week review time, because the commission for subcommittee reviews has a week from when I send the, documentation until I start harassing them to get me answered. But most of the time, they've been really good about getting back to me quicker.
Or that's early. Very good.
Okay. All right, so first one is item A for the application is to recommend the proposed variance. And it to be reviewed, I guess, and evaluated the language that's gonna be through something. Okay, if there are no motion for item A.
Does this need to be separate? Does it need to be an A or B?
I think so, because I think the recommendation, it has to be. Because
Yeah, it's a recommendation.
the recommendation, it has to be.
Tracking.
Thank you.
Well, good.
Well, I'll do the.
We can have that subcommittee. It's like,
Yeah, we'll give you that.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, motion on application COA 2400526, 193 West Fourth Avenue, Part A, to recommend the zoning variance subject to approval of a subcommittee of the commission made up of, yeah, I'll do it also.
Can I read one more? This is one more.
Yeah, the attention.
One more.
Standard operating.
Okay.
Okay, almost all of the S's.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any further discussion at all on item A? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that's recommended with the
Okay.
understanding of so. So now item B is the garage itself with a couple of clarifications that we're talking through. And I wrote some things down, but we can just, if no one remembers all of them, we'll work together to get there. Okay. In the motion, it's kind of talking about a little bit of the maneuverability concerns because of the garage, and the size of the garage. You can, kind of talk about that a little bit in the motion. Anyway.
yeah, I'll do it. Motion to approve application 2400526, 193 West Fourth Avenue as submitted, approving the single garage door due to the small width of the garage.
Sure. It's fine. There was one other, I think it was a man door.
Oh, and clarifying that the man door should be the 4-panel door as shown in the exterior elevation. This is item B.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else that we're missing that would help the application?
I do not believe so.
I'll second that one too.
Second, awesome. Okay. We have a second for Tim. All right, any further discussion? Good. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
All right, next application is number 6, which is 208 West Second Avenue. This application is to remove the original aluminum siding with the textured 4-inch vinyl siding and the scallop. Okay, let me rephrase that because I think I missed some words. So remove the original aluminum siding and replace with the textured 4-inch vinyl siding. The scallop siding will remain and will be painted. Staff has added the commissioner comments from the November 13th hearing. And just as a bit of a reminder, this property was built in 1985 and originally had aluminum siding, which is what currently is on the structure. The current siding is damaged and the owner wishes to explore to replace the siding with vinyl. The property is just shy of being considered historic as it's 39 years old. Appropriate siding for this time period would have included vinyl siding. The applicant has provided the additional photos as requested by the commission. The commission should discuss if vinyl is an appropriate replacement and why. They should also discuss in the future if it would be an appropriate replacement material for the remaining aluminum on the rest of the building. Staff recommends approval of the application with any and all clarifications submitted to HBO staff prior to issuance of a certificate. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, these standards for alteration, and the Victorian Village guidelines on siding.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you say your name?
I am Patsy Matheny.
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Turn it over to you. I remember the application, so is there anything that you need to clarify?
Nope. When I was here at the last meeting, I was asked to submit 3 more pictures, and those were the 3 that you see on the screen.
Anything else about the application that we didn't talk through?
No, happy to answer questions.
Last time we were just trying to understand, we felt pretty comfortable about the application, just understand the context, and so that was a request. Anything that we're gonna talk through, I think the staff just asked about, is there a need for this material that's being proposed to be talked about in relationship to the balance of the context needs of, I guess, if there anything else to be involved.
Thank you for the answer picture.
You're welcome.
Reveal is the same.
It's appropriate.
So we see vinyl is unusual, but
Right.
this it's good issue. So because I was aluminum, also.
All right, so more so about to match the existing vinyl in terms of what's appropriate for the age of the building, all those things, and the context and evaluating, given the proposed material. Okay, anything else that you think?
All right, just so we have it on the record, and since I typically don't recommend vinyl siding
Yeah.
either, but this is because it is a 1989 building. If there are additional buildings in front of us that are asking to replace their siding with vinyl, would it be conditional based on the time period and case by case basis as always?
Case by case basis, and also originally had aluminum siding, so it had a substitute material siding anyways.
Okay.
So it's just the way you refer to it, a substitute material.
And I think that's the case by case condition, and so I think that was why that context was being requested to really evaluate the merits of the building too.
There's no historic wood under this.
Yes, and if the additional unit owners would come back, the vinyl siding would probably also be appropriate.
I would say that there would be the caveat that depending on how this building is built, if they're only trying to do part of their piece and so that it's adjacent to an aluminum side, there might be some problems with that. So I don't do any blanket rules here, but it's one stood by itself and it could do all 3 and not interface with the rest of the sides.
So the extent of what's being proposed in terms of replacement of the siding doesn't come into contact with other siding materials that would cause conflict, right? So I think that's what Tim is asking for. So the extent would have to be evaluated for that particular application. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Kimberly. All right, so is there a motion to?
Motion for to approve COA 2400-534 98 Bubbles Avenue as.
No.
Second, I'm sorry, I'll move on.
You're gonna.
I'm sorry.
I've tracked that, motion for COA 2400-533-208 West Second Avenue as submitted. And with clarifications discussed.
Thank you. Very helpful, very helpful. Really appreciate it.
Probably going to take me a couple days to get the COA out, but I would typically try to start working on the minutes tomorrow.
Okay,
But thank you.
thank you.
All right, last but not least, we have application number 7, B98 Buttles Avenue. They're not requesting vinyl siding, they are requesting removing the existing wood deck and replacing with the new Trex ground shelf on the decking. This will be done in the exact footprint of the old deck. Color will be gray, and they will be installing the new April black railings. Staff has requested additional items to assist in clarifying details such as the condition of the existing decking and height of the proposed railings. The commission should discuss if the proposed decking is an appropriate replacement material. Staff recommends a continuation of the application to allow the applicant to submit more detailed photos and the additional items. They have submitted them. It was just yesterday afternoon, so I was the mean one who said that we couldn't include them. I need more time to evaluate them. But if the commission might be okay with the subcommittee review, that is also another possibility. That's not on the staff report, but based on that they have needed additional materials, I think it's a fair suggestion. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, these standards for alteration, as well as the Victorian Village guidelines on roofs.
Can you state your name this morning?
Julie Bullock.
Eric Pfeiffer.
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you.
So my apologies. I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding between Kimberly and Eric.
Yeah, I apologize.
He thought that he was supposed to bring the items to the meeting because we had no business meeting.
Yeah, I think because of the business meeting, I was confused by our phone conversation.
So I said, all right, we'll just bring.
So we did print them out, but understood.
But it's basically like for like. It is not visible from the ground at all. The decking is not visible. The roof has deteriorated, the decking has deteriorated. They actually have to replace the membrane roof below, so it has to come up. The decking has not, the wood deck has not held up well at all. Not sure what they used, but, so that's why he wants to do the Trex. And then the same thing, we actually think the aluminum railing is gonna be more discreet and less visible, you know, from the ground than a heavy wood railing. So it is pretty much like for like. It's behind, most of the sections are behind these mansard roofs. There's like a vertical drop. I think you can see it in the aerial. So it's a pretty concealed condition, shall we say?
Yeah, you can see from the alley side, there's only that little section right where you have the cursor. That's a railing, piece of railing. That'd be the only thing at all of the deck.
And you can't really get a,
I don't know if that matters to you guys, but I mean, it's not like it's,
yeah, it's not,
any of it's really, you're gonna see it at all, so.
but it has to come up because the membrane roof is in such bad shape, so.
Can you just talk a little bit about, maybe the material that it's replacing? That'd be helpful.
The material that's the existing that's being replaced?
Yes.
It was just regular pine lumber, I believe. I don't know how old this deck is. I'm guessing maybe 80s or 90s construction. So the substructure will still be wood, treated wood, and then of course just Trex decking on top because the owners want it because obviously one, it's on a roof. So with the sun beating down on it, you know, a treated wood isn't going to last as long. And then also because of the one that they have there where they're stepping through it in spots, they wanted to move away and do something that would last a little longer since they're spending all the money to replace everything.
The existing material that's on the top. What is that?
It's pine.
Just treated lumber. I mean, it probably was at one
What's the
point.
dimension?
Oh,
It's 2x6, which is what it's Trex would be also 6 inches wide as well to replace. So
Okay. Any thoughts?
This isn't a porch. It's not visible. It's up on the roof. This is one of the edits in modern buildings, one of the few make the Trex study.
Yeah.
We've done that before.
And I think I was trying to extract out the material in conversation that's there to be able to analyze, because a lot of it is the aesthetic of the profile and things like that. So not necessarily just concentrating on just the material change, but we still have a little And I think that's the same conversation that we had with the one that was on Mill Avenue, but it's on the second floor as well. So that's exactly what I was thinking.
Same dimensions.
So, yeah, the scale
Yeah,
is
it'll
the
be the-
same.
Same footprint, same dimensions.
And I would put the same stipulations in terms of the finishing, like you shouldn't have any of the end boards and the trucks exposed, that's what it should be.
I have that on my drawing here, so. There aren't very many end boards actually, just because of the way it's
And are
constructed.
you keeping the diagonal pattern that appears to be the bigger part of the patio?
No.
I don't believe so. I don't think it makes sense for structurally, it makes more
Yeah,
sense
that's
to do.
probably part of the reason it failed, to be honest.
That's the spots where people are stepping through, where you've got, a diagonal piece running over a couple of joists that are,
So the layout will be diagonal to the existing.
It'll be
it'll
perpendicular,
just be perpendicular to the joists.
and we can load all that up. on board.
I started to, and it didn't upload all the way, so we can.
Yeah, that portal is,
It's touchy.
yeah, it's touchy for us too. So it's.
I have a hard time with it sometimes.
Pretty simple. So the one thing is, I think what they're recommending is we go ahead, staff recommending moving it forward based on our discussion for board of subcommittee only because we just don't have other materials. Or.
Yes, because we haven't gotten materials submitted late, so I didn't have time to review them. If the commission's okay, it could also go to staff, but
Yeah.
If we could, right, we could move it to you and
Okay.
feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Based on our discussion, that would be.
yeah, you guys know me. I tend to go the more conservative suggestion of like, oh, you guys might want to see it.
We know we're familiar with the product. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's the right product.
And it follows what we've done.
Yeah, there's certainly a history of.
I'm good.
Okay, so is there a motion? I think we're just maybe some of the kind of language that we just kind of talked through. I think we has kind of an understanding of some of the trim, things like that.
I'll give it a shot.
I tried to tell you guys 5 minutes ago, it's
Final siding.
It's new stuff. Motion on the application COA 24005534, 98 Buttles Avenue, to approve the application as submitted with the following conditions. That the Trex product be finished out along the edges so that no ingrain of the Trex is visible. And that the materials be submitted for staff approval prior to the COA being issued. And
No, it just, can you just,
why are we approving it?
yeah, I think just the.
Right, low. So, to be clear, where Trex is not a preferred product, we tend to not approve that, especially for porches and things like that that are viewable. However, we have approved Trex in the past for areas that are balconies or areas that are out of view, of which this is not visible from the street. Likewise, for the railing, it's the same thing. For those more appropriate probably than wood, and they're also.
Is there a second team? Any further discussion?
I've got everything. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Right,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
Yeah, that's it.
Any other business before we go on? Before we.
We're officially fully seated.
Good, great. Thank you, welcome. Great to have you, really appreciate it. And at the same time, great dialogue for the information. Is there a motion to adjourn?